All right. I don't know how that first one got cut off, but it is what it is. Take advantage of the space, right? So, first of all, I always love when the tight end's got his hand on the guy. Like, is it really that loud in London that you can't hear the snap count? I don't know. So, take advantage of the space. They've shifted all the way over. You're never going to get that again. For the life of me, I can't figure out. And these, the Pats got a young quarterback and all that. They're not checking out whatnot. But the angles here just make a lot of sense the other way. Let's watch middle linebacker here, though. Really good snap to the ball. Attacking downhill. Same thing. And they do two things here that I really like. So the first thing is Hamilton does a really good job of on the center guard. Is that center guard? Or is that guard and tackle? Guard and tackle. So on the backside B, he turns this into a 1v1 block. He attacks the B gap. So this is something that we do pretty well when we're asked to do it. I'm talking about Kenny Clark in particular. They turn it into a 1v1, so that tackle is kind of useless right now. And that allows Devin Lloyd, who loves to slice and play downhill, that allows him to cut through to the backside gap because that guard can't get off his, he's essentially being blocked now by the defensive tackle. And then we see they're trying to sift on the backside. Josh Allen is far too active to sift against. He's going to end up making that play 10 out of 10 times. They drop down into a jam. And this is where I think sometimes when you watch film, I usually just watch film for this show. I just watched the last game. But if really game planning this team, you probably got to go away from like the Patriots do with a rookie quarterback, because like this is an abort play. They drop down and put a heavy shade or a gap player, and then they play a 4-eye, and then they play the linebacker outside. We saw this the Packers against the Texans last week. Like, you should not be running the ball to the offense's right or left on the screen. This doesn't make a whole lot of sense because somebody's going to lose here. And it just turns out they all lose, right? I mean, this is just chaos. And, the Pats line I know has been struggling. But you want to talk about guys that are penetrating and trying to play on their side of the line of scrimmage all day. This Sunday game is certainly a demonstration of that. Really good flock to the football. Again, we can just be fans of the way teams play and still be fans of the Green Bay Packers. Like, I like the way these guys play, man. They're fun to watch. Okay. This is a new segment on our show. Who gets it worse? Let's start out with the right guard. Does the right guard get it worse here as he gets bull rushed into the backfield Trayvon Walker, as he pulls, just lifts him off the ground and causes a complete car wreck at the point of attack? That was pretty bad. But is it as bad as the backside guard who's trying to cut off 52, and he just says, I think I'll just throw you 2 yards, 3 yards into the backfield and throw you into the running back's feet so you get a tackle for loss? I don't know that I've seen a play this year. By the way, the correct answer for everybody playing is left guard. I don't know if I've seen a defensive tackle do this to a guard in a while. I mean, it's like he got shot. It was like a deer hitting a train right there, man. I mean, that was an absolute shot, man. And if I didn't even know who 52 was, but until this week, man, I'm a fan of him now. Unbelievable. So this is a little bit undisciplined, and this is where I think the Jags, you talk about the passing game, and this play works out for them, and maybe they're just doing this because they know it's a rookie quarterback, but you see this, and you see Josh Jacobs and Jordan Love in the backfield, close your eyes a little bit, and if they're bringing a cross dog, okay, I'll buy that. If they're bringing the A-gap with Devin Lloyd trying to green dog this because the running back's going to stay in and he decides not to, I mean, you just watch this play kind of the way, because they're kind of going into the same gap. And now you look at the running backs, like the running back's open for a lot. I mean, this turns into an explosive play for the offensive football team because you don't do your job. So these are the kind of the plays where you go, yeah, it worked out, but are we excited about the opportunity to leak the running back out and get him into open space? Can we run a bunch of like deep crossers or go routes, and can we get him into space if it's a situation where we think the Jags are going to bring pressure? Or we can run that Texas route that we saw last time with the Jags run, because these guys, I think they can cover 1v1. Devin Lloyd can certainly cover 1v1 in space. But they do a couple of things like this where they get a little bit antsy about going to get that quarterback. And again, that could be just because they're playing against a rookie. So you got 3 to a side here. And this is what I'm talking about with Walker. And look, you're only making this play, quite frankly. And Aquana's a really good player, but the quarterback just backs up too much. But look at the bull. I mean, he's not even trying to use his hands. He just takes his right shoulder and says, I'm going to stuff it in your chest. And if the quarterback keeps backing up, I'm just going to get home. Big, strong man. Big, strong man. So I think, again, I really like watching that defensive football team, but you have to – I probably highlighted what we need to worry about, maybe more so than what we don't need to worry about, because their secondary has not had a lot of success this year playing against decent quarterbacks. And I think we have a good quarterback with a great receiving room. Our tight end is turning out to be one of the better tight ends in the league. Certainly, we have multiple people at the running back position that can run the screen game, catch the ball in the backfield now. So you have to be excited about the opportunity. What's always interesting in these games is when you look at, if you go into your game plan and you're looking at their defense, you go, okay, well, what do they do well? It's like, well, in a vacuum, they rush the passer well. And I don't know if their stats back that up, but you know that they have 2 highly touted pass rushers. They're good against the run. They're ranked, somewhere between 4th and 10th, depending on what metric you're using, but they're good against the run. Okay, what do they like? Where should we attack? And it's like all signs point to secondary. They're 31st in the league. Okay, what coverages? Well, they're running a lot of cover 2. They're running invert. They're doing a bunch of nonsense. Like a lot of the stuff that they're doing doesn't make a ton of sense. So how do we exploit it? How fast does it take us to figure all this stuff out? And I just don't know the answer to that question. As far as you want to make it as obvious as possible with, I think, the Green Bay Packers, that you start going, all right, are we going to go with the orbit motion in the backfield? Are we going to do the reverse orbit that we did last week to identify man cover? Like, what is the new wrinkle that we're going to do in the backfield to get those extra touches? Like, I want to see another game where you have 10 guys receiving the football, 7 guys rushing it, having 350, 400 yards on offense. I think that's possible with this team, because inevitably, if you spread these guys out and you get into a box situation, the only real thing that makes the thing that I think that makes the run game good. And again, that tape is a little bit misleading because the Patriots are just really struggling. But the backside pursuit, either by the linebacker or the defensive end, is really, really high level. So you have to account for them, whether it's with cross flow, the tight end or receiver staying in on the backside to block that defensive end. Like, something has to give, and so you have to kind of build your offense out around that. If you do that, I think you're going to have a lot of success. So I only have a couple listener questions here that I wanted to hit. The first, maybe the most important one, is what's your initial thought on how the Packers attack this team with two good defensive ends? I think that both matchups are good competitive matchups. So I think our left tackle, I think Rashid versus Josh Allen, is a good competitive match. You got to remember, Arden Key moved on, so they don't have that third guy that you're going like, oh, when Arden comes in, Arden's a really good pass rusher as well. So I think that's a really good matchup, and they'll play most of the snaps. Like, these guys don't like taking a lot of snaps off. I think Zach Tom versus Trayvon Walker, I think is an interesting matchup in that, again, Trayvon has this thing where he's just trying to bully you. He's really not trying to beat you with a chop club rip, beat you with an inside spin, beat you with a, some sort of stutter stab with an inside club. Like, he's not trying to do a lot of that stuff. What he's trying to do is, I'm going to run right there, and I dare you to stop me. And if you don't get your hands on me, if you don't punch and extend, then over the course of the game, I can run the hoop. And they're going to see on tape last week that's kind of what worked last week against Zach at different times during the game. Just, can I get my shoulder pad to his chest? Can I get him to turn? So Zach's got to do a really good job of being able to punch and extend there, and just really, let's tighten up the footwork a little bit. And I think that I don't know how many times you need to chip and you need to concern yourself with all that. I think you need to do it. You do need to mix in the play action. You need to move the pocket because those are the opportunities for our tackles in particular to mix up their sets so that when it's 3rd and 8 or 3rd and 10, it's a got to have it play. You can show your best and your best has to win. So that's how I would attack it. But really, as long as you have the threat of run, which we always do, as long as you have the threat of quarterback keep, which we always do, I think a lot of this will be, it's certainly a different game. Drake May versus Jordan Love is a different game in a lot of ways, obviously, but one of the ways is the complexity of the offense and then the opportunity for that quarterback to have experience and know when to move and when not to. The only other question we had really for today was, what's up with all the drops? Scheme issue or skill issue? We talked about this for the last couple of weeks. When you see some throws that aren't in the pocket, or you see some drops that are semi behind him, above him, more often than not, just from experience of talking to kind of everybody in the locker room, I certainly don't throw or run routes, but quarterbacks miss throws. And quarterbacks, Jordan Love will miss throws, and he's missed some. He's always going to miss some throws. But a lot of times, especially when you're looking at like in cuts or like more timing around, like in other words, if it's a go route or like a high angle route and they miss it, they just miss it more often than not. If it's the heavier the angle, the difference in how you come out of the route matters more. The angle you come out, the speed, and everything. And the variation in that has an effect on where the ball is, maybe more so than the consistency of the quarterback throw, if you have a good quarterback, which we do. So I think a lot of that, if you see things that don't look quite in sync in the game, you just think of it this way, that the more severe the angle that the receiver has to make, the more variation will affect the way the optics of the throw, if that makes sense. So if I do it perfect and the guy throws it like he does, if the quarterback throws it the same way 20 times and we have 20 different ways the guy runs the route, the ball's going to look different 20 times in a row, if that makes sense. That's how I would look at it. But this is going to be a fun game. Listen, I think the good thing about these games is now you've got a team who's somehow only 3rd in the NFC North, but you're at 2-5 now. Wait, that's backwards. 5-2. Playing against a team that you're 4-point favorites on the road. I think it's a 49.5 point over under. And considering the Jags only averaged 20 points, you're looking at probably a 30-point game by the Green Bay Packers, according to the sports bettors. So this is one of those games that, bring a bag of sandwiches and a case of beer to the tailgate. Have a good time. Go watch the Packers beat up on the Jags. I think this is. I hope that they keep Doug and let him ride this through, and maybe he makes some changes at a couple different coaching positions. But he's a really good coach, and I'm always rooting for him because he was a great teammate. But I think he's going to really struggle this weekend. I think the Packers are going to have a good one. So that said, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks to our sponsor, Bet Online, and as always. Got any questions, hit me up, Michael68 on Twitter, Process to Perform on Instagram. Check out the Process to Perform page. If you subscribe to it, you'll get all the clips that we put out for this game as well. Until then, enjoy the weekend, guys. We'll see you soon.